Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're diving into something I think a lot of you are really going to love, especially if you're, trying to build an online presence. We're talking about boosting traffic to your website or online business.
It's like the holy grail for so many entrepreneurs, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we're going to be dissecting a recent blog post that caught my eye. It's from blogwidow.com titled, How to Create Content That Drives Traffic to Your Online Business. It was just published like a few days ago on March 9th, 2025.
Oh, this one. Yeah, this one is jam-packed with great advice. It's like a step-by-step roadmap.
All right, roadmap it is. So first stop on this content creation journey. The article really hammers home the importance of knowing your audience, which I feel like we hear all the time, but how do we actually go deeper than just the surface level?
I think it's easy to get caught up in those basic demographics, like, oh, my target audience is women aged 25 to 35 who like to travel. But it's got to be more than that, right?
It's like, okay, so they're women, they're 25 to 35, and they love to travel. But what about that makes them tick?
Exactly. We need to get into the psychographics, I think the article call it. Understanding their motivations, their pain points, what keeps them up at night. They mention using Google Trends, social listening, even just analyzing your existing customer feedback to really get in their heads.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
Because then you're not just, guessing. You actually have data to back up your assumptions.
100%. And that data becomes even more valuable when you start thinking about long-tail keywords, which is where the article goes next.
Long-tail keywords, those are the more specific phrases people search, right? Not just like one or two words.
Exactly. The article gave this perfect example comparing online business to, get this, how to create content that drives traffic to your online business. You see how much more specific that is.
Oh, yeah. It's like night and day. The first one is so broad, someone can be searching that for a million different reasons. But the second one, you know exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly. And someone searching that longer phrase is probably way more likely to actually click on your content if it provides the answer.
That makes sense, yeah. So how do we even find these magical long-tail keywords?
There are some amazing tools out there. Google Keyword Planner is a good one, and I think the article also mentioned Ahrefs and Ubersuggest. But the real key is using those tools after you have that deeper understanding of your audience.
So you can plug in phrases that you know they're actually typing in.
Spot on. But then there's the art of, well, not stuffing your content with those keywords, Like you don't want to sound like a robot.
Keyword stuffing, ugh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like that friend who name drops celebrities every other sentence. You just tune them out eventually.
Exactly. And Google's smart to that now, too. They can tell when you're trying to game the system, your content has to be genuinely valuable, keywords or not.
Which brings us to the next big point, right? Creating valuable content. It feels kind of obvious, but the article stresses quality over everything.
It's got to be the meat and potatoes, The stuff that people actually want to read, watch, or listen to.
So what does valuable content actually look like in practice? Beyond just good writing, I mean.
Think about the stuff you gravitate towards online. What makes you click on a link? What makes you stay on a page?
Usually it's something that answers a question I have, like if I'm trying to learn how to do something or if I just want to dive deep into a topic I'm interested in.
Exactly. So the article gives some really practical suggestions. Detailed industry FAQs, how-to guides, those sorts of things. It even suggests incorporating visuals like images or infographics to break things up. It's about meeting a need, not just adding to the noise,
It's like instead of just talking at people, you're having a conversation with them,
Yeah.
giving them what they actually want.
100%. And once you have that killer content, you got to make sure people actually see it, right? That's where SEO comes in.
SEO. I'll admit, I get a little intimidated by the whole SEO thing.
Oh, I hear ya. It can feel like this big, scary monster sometimes. But the article actually breaks down some core SEO practices that, honestly, anyone can implement.
Even someone who's, let's say, not the most tech savvy.
Oh, absolutely. Besides keywords, which we already talked about, meta descriptions are key. It's that little blurb that shows up under your link in the search results.
Oh, right.
Make it enticing. Think of it as your content's elevator pitch. Then there's internal and external linking, basically using links to connect different pieces of content on your site and other websites. That helps people navigate, And of course, page load speed.
Right, because no one's going to wait around for a page that takes 5 minutes to load.
Nope. It's all about first impressions. People are busy. They'll bounce if your site's slow.
Makes sense. So, okay, we've got the foundation. Solid content, SEO basics in place. But the article doesn't stop there, does it?
Not even close. It's like once you have the basics down, then you can really start to have some fun.
Okay, I like where this is going. Spill the beans. What's the fun part?
It encourages you to experiment with different content types. Not everything has to be a 2,000-word blog post.
Which honestly is a relief to hear, because sometimes I feel like I'm writing a novel every time I sit down to create content.
Totally. So, what are some things you've been wanting to try but haven't gotten around to?
Well, video is huge, obviously.
All right.
But it feels kind of intimidating, to be honest. Like, do
Yeah.
I need a fancy camera? A whole production crew?
Not at all. I think the point is to just try things out, see what works for you. You could do tutorials, demonstrations, even quick little behind-the-scenes peeks into your world.
Oh, I like that. Like, people love to see the process, right?
Exactly. And then there are infographics. If you have a lot of data or complex information, those can be a great way to present it visually.
Oh, I love a good infographic. They're so easy to digest. And what about podcasts?
Well, look at us. Podcasts are perfect for those long-form conversations or interviews. You can really dive deep into a topic. And then don't forget about ebooks and guides. People love downloadable content they can refer back to.
Okay, so we've got this whole content buffet laid out. But it doesn't matter how delicious it is if no one shows up to the party, right?
100%. Which is why content promotion is just as important as content creation. It's like having a blockbuster movie. You still need marketing to get people in the theater.
So how do we promote our content effectively? Social media obviously is a big one, but it's so noisy out there. How do we stand out?
You got to think about the posts you engage with. What makes you stop scrolling?
Usually it's something with a really strong visual or a headline that makes me curious.
Exactly. A catchy headline, a captivating image or video, and a message that's tailored to the platform. A tweet is different from a LinkedIn post, right?
Right. So it's not just about sharing the same link everywhere. It's about putting in a little extra effort to make it platform specific.
And don't forget about engagement, responding to comments, answering questions. It's all about building those relationships.
Makes sense. You're not just broadcasting, you're actually having a conversation.
Right. Now let's talk about something I think a lot of people overlook: guest posting and collaborations.
Guest posting, I get. You read an article for another website, get your name out there. But what does collaboration look like in this context?
It could be anything from co-creating content with a business in your niche to partnering with an influencer on a campaign. It's about leveraging each other's strengths and expanding your reach.
Oh, I see. So you're basically tapping into an audience that already exists.
Exactly. And it adds a little variety to your content mix, too. Now, we've talked about creating great content, promoting it like crazy, but at some point, we got to measure if any of this is actually working.
Right. That's where analytics come in, right? Google Analytics, all that jazz.
Mhm.
I'll be honest, though. I kind of get overwhelmed by all the numbers and charts. Where do I even start?
It's easy to get lost in the data, for sure. Think about what success means for you. Is it website traffic, engagement on social media, leads generated? Focus on the metrics that matter most to your business goals.
So it's not about just looking at vanity metrics like how many followers you have. It's about understanding what actually moves the needle for your business.
Exactly. And using that data to make adjustments, to improve your strategy. It's a constant process of learning and refining.
It's funny, as we've been kind of unpacking this whole blog post, it's making me think that creating good content is almost like a psychology experiment in a way.
Oh, interesting. I like that. How so?
Well, because we're essentially trying to tap into what makes people tick online. What makes them click, what makes them share, what makes them actually engage with our stuff.
You're right. It's not enough to just throw information out there and hope for the best. We need to understand the why behind people's actions.
Exactly. Think back to, I think it was last week we were talking about that jewelry store that was having trouble with their online sales.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we talked about how they could showcase the artisans, the craftsmanship, the ethical sourcing of the materials. And it's because that kind of stuff taps into those deeper human desires for connection, for authenticity.
Right. It's not just about the product itself. It's about the story behind it.
It's like we're appealing to their emotions, not just their logic.
100%. And I think different content formats play into that as well. Remember how blogwidow.com was encouraging us to experiment with different types of content?
Yeah, definitely. They were all about mixing things up. Videos, infographics, podcasts, ebooks. We talked about it all.
Well, each of those formats sort of caters to different psychological preferences, you know? Some people are very visual learners, so they're going to be drawn to videos, imagery, things like that. Others might prefer the intimacy of audio, like with a podcast. And then some people just love to, really dive deep into a well-written article.
So it's not just about, checking boxes and making sure we have one of each. It's about being strategic, And choosing formats that align with how our audience actually prefers to consume information.
Exactly. You're essentially giving them options,
Hmm.
catering to their individual needs and preferences.
This is making me realize that content creation is way more nuanced than I initially thought. It's not just about churning out blog posts and hoping to the best. It's about, like, really understanding human behavior and tailoring our approach accordingly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And speaking of tailoring our approach, there's something else the article touched on that I think is so important: authenticity.
Oh, yes, authenticity, huge. It's like people can sniff out a fake from a mile away these days.
They can. They really can. They're craving realness, genuine connection, not just some polished marketing message.
So how do we inject that authenticity into our content? It feels kind of squishy sometimes, you know? Like, how do you measure authenticity?
I think it starts with just being yourself, letting your personality shine through. Think about the content creators you follow online. What draws you to them?
Honestly. The ones who are just, like, unapologetically themselves, you can feel their passion, their quirks, their, like, unique perspective.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to let those things come through in your own work. Don't try to be someone you're not.
Because at the end of the day, people connect with people, not with some, like, faceless brand.
Right. They want to know who's behind the curtain, who they're engaging with.
This is making me rethink my whole approach, honestly. Like, maybe I need to stop overthinking it so much and just be more me.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of connections, blogwidow.com also highlighted the importance of collaborations.
Yeah, collaborations, they could be such a game changer for reaching new audiences.
But it's not just about the numbers, It's about finding people who you genuinely vibe with, who have a complementary skill set or a different perspective that can add value to your content.
Like, when you collaborate with someone, you're basically combining forces to create something even better than you could have on your own.
Exactly. It's like that saying, two heads are better than one. You can bounce ideas off each other, get feedback, and push each other creatively.
Plus, there's that whole networking aspect, right? Building relationships with other people in your industry.
Oh, absolutely. Collaborations are a great way to expand your network and open yourself up to new opportunities.
It's like a win-win for everyone involved. So we've talked about creating awesome content, collaborating with others, but none of it matters if we don't get the word out right.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Which is why blogwidow.com puts so much emphasis on content promotion.
And we can't just, like, hit publish and expect the masses to magically flock to our masterpiece. We need a strategy.
Think of it this way. You've written a hit song, but if you never perform it, no one will ever hear it.
Okay, I love that analogy. So social media is obviously a big part of this, but it's such a crowded space.
Yeah.
How do we make our content stand out?
Think about the posts that make you stop scrolling. What catches your eye? What makes you want to click?
Usually it's a strong visual, for sure, or, like, a really compelling headline that makes me want to know more.
See, you already know what works, so apply that to your own content. Use eye-catching images or videos, write headlines that pique people's curiosity, and make sure your message is tailored to the platform you're on. A tweet is going to be different from a LinkedIn post, right?
Right. So it's about being strategic and putting in that extra effort to make it stand out.
Exactly. And don't forget about engagement, responding to comments, answering questions, starting conversations. It's all about building those relationships, not just blasting out links. Because those relationships can have a ripple effect, People who feel connected to you are more likely to share your content with their networks, which can dramatically expand your reach.
So it's a two-way street. We put out great content and engage authentically, and in return, our audience helps spread the word.
Precisely. Now let's shift gears for a second and talk about a slightly different promotional tactic: guest posting.
Guest posting. Yep, I get it. You write an article for another website, get your name out there, hopefully drive some traffic back to your own site.
Right. But it's also a fantastic way to build credibility and establish yourself as, like, an authority in your niche. When you're featured on a reputable site, it's almost like a seal of approval.
It's like they're vouching for you, saying, hey, this person knows their stuff.
Exactly. Plus, let's not forget about those SEO benefits. Backlinks from high-authority websites can do wonders for your search rankings.
So it's a win-win situation. You get to share your expertise with a new audience, build credibility, and potentially boost your SEO all at the same time.
This is all starting to click for me. Content creation is like this multifaceted gem, We need to approach it from all angles if we want to truly shine.
I love that analogy. Now, before we move on to the final piece of the puzzle, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier: Analytics.
Analytics, ugh, yeah, they can feel like a data jungle sometimes, but I know they're important.
They are. Think of them as your content's report card. It tells you how well your content is performing in terms of traffic, engagement, conversions, all those key metrics. So we're not just guessing, we're actually looking at hard data to see what's working and what's not.
Exactly. And the beauty of analytics is that it's based on data, not just intuition. We can make informed decisions about what to double down on, what to tweak, and what to maybe ditch altogether.
So if we see a spike in traffic from a specific guest post, maybe we do more of those. Or if a certain type of video is bombing, we try a different approach.
Exactly. It's about using data to refine your content strategy and ensure you're delivering the most valuable and engaging content possible.
This is making me realize that analytics aren't about getting bogged down in numbers. They're about understanding our audience and optimizing our content to better serve them.
I'm so glad you see it that way. It's about using data to create a more meaningful and impactful experience for your audience.
This is so much more than just driving traffic. It's about building relationships, fostering connections, and making a real impact.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about creating content that matters, content that resonates, and content that helps you achieve your business goals, you know, all while staying true to yourself.
I'm feeling so inspired and energized to level up my content game.
That's what we like to hear. Now, before we wrap up this section of our deep dive, I want to talk about something that underpins all of this: consistency.
Consistency, yes. It's like the secret sauce, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can have the best content in the world, but if you're not showing up consistently, it's hard to gain any traction.
Think of it like building a house, you know? You need to lay a solid foundation brick by brick to create something lasting.
So it's not just about creating a bunch of content all at once and then disappearing for months.
Exactly. It's about finding a rhythm that works for you and for your audience. Some people thrive on daily posting, others might prefer a weekly or even monthly schedule. The key is to find what's sustainable and allows you to consistently deliver high-quality content without burning out.
Because what good is a content calendar if you're too exhausted to stick to it?
And remember, consistency applies to more than just posting frequency. It's also about being consistent with your brand voice, your messaging, your visual style.
It's about creating a cohesive experience for your audience so they know what to expect from you.
Exactly. When you're consistent across all those touch points, it helps build trust and recognition.
Consistency is key, but I think it's also important to remember not to be afraid to experiment.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there.
We can't just get stuck in a rut, churning out the same type of content day after day. We need to be willing to try new things, push boundaries, and just see what resonates.
Think of it like a chef experimenting with new flavors and ingredients. Sometimes the most unexpected combinations lead to the most delicious dishes.
Exactly. So let's not be afraid to get creative, step outside our comfort zones, and see what magic we can create.
I couldn't agree more. Now, as we move towards wrapping up our exploration of this blogwitter.com piece, I want to touch on one final element that they emphasized, which is community.
Community. It's like,
Yeah.
what transforms the online world from this cold, impersonal space into a vibrant network of connections?
Think about the online communities you're a part of. What draws you to them?
It's the feeling of belonging, for sure. The shared interests, the opportunity to connect with like-minded people and learn from each other.
Exactly. And as content creators, we have this incredible opportunity to foster those connections, to build communities around our shared passions and values.
We can create spaces where people feel seen, heard, and valued, where they can engage in meaningful conversations, share their perspectives, and support each other.
And that's where the real magic happens, you know? When you
Yes.
cultivate that strong sense of community around your content, it transcends just simply consuming information. It becomes about belonging to something bigger than yourself.
It's like weaving a tapestry of shared experiences and connections.
Beautifully said. And with that, I think we've come full circle in our deep dive into blogwitter.com's content creation roadmap.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From understanding our audience and crafting compelling content, to promoting it effectively and analyzing the results.
It's been quite a journey, but it's not just about checking boxes and following some formula, you know.
It's about approaching content creation with intentionality, authenticity, and a genuine desire to connect with our audience.
And most importantly, I think it's about enjoying the process. If you're not having fun, it's going to show.
This conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for creating content that truly resonates and makes a difference.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep evolving your approach.
It's interesting, as we've been um, dissecting all this tactical advice, all these like nitty-gritty details, I keep thinking about the bigger picture, you know? Like, what's it all for?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think it's easy to get caught up in the how-tos and forget about the why. Why are we even creating content in the first place?
Exactly. It's not just about driving traffic or making sales, right? There's got to be something more to it.
I think there is. Content creation, it's not just about us. It's about contributing to something bigger than ourselves. Like, think about it. Every piece of content we create, it's like adding another drop to this vast ocean of knowledge and ideas.
Wow. When you put it like that, it almost feels like a responsibility.
It is a responsibility. We got to be thoughtful about the content we put out there, make sure it's accurate, ethical. It's not just about getting clicks and views. It's about making a positive impact on the world.
So it's not just about the how-to of content creation.
Yeah.
It's also about the why.
100%. And I think a big part of that why is remembering the human element behind all of this, the desire to connect, to share, to learn, to grow.
And speaking of growth, there's something that's absolutely crucial for any content creator, no matter what industry you're in: creativity.
Ah, yes. Creativity. That's the spark that ignites everything, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
what sets us apart from all the algorithms and automation out there.
It's what makes content come alive, what makes it resonate with people on a deeper level.
Think about your favorite artists, writers, musicians, whoever it is you admire creatively. What is it about their work that captivates you?
It's like they have this unique vision, this way of seeing the world that's different from anyone else's. And they're able to express that vision through their work, whatever that may be.
It's like they're inviting us into their world, sharing a little piece of themselves with us.
Exactly. And that's what we should strive for in our own content creation, too. To tap into our own unique perspectives, our passions, our quirks, and let those things shine through.
But man, sometimes that can feel so daunting, right? Like staring at a blank page or a blinking cursor. It can be paralyzing.
I know that feeling all too well. It's like, where do I even begin?
The creative process can be intimidating, for sure. But remember, creativity is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So we need to embrace the challenges, push through those blocks, and just keep flexing those creative muscles.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Break the rules, try new things, have fun with it. Sometimes the most unexpected ideas lead to the most brilliant creations.
That's so true. This whole conversation has been so insightful, honestly. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the power and potential of content creation.
Me too. It's been awesome exploring this topic with you.
And with all of you listening, of course.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with one final thought.
Ooh, I like this. Lay it on us.
Remember, content creation, it's a journey, not a destination. There are going to be ups and downs, twists and turns along the way. But the most important thing is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep creating content that matters to you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So until next time, everyone, keep creating, keep connecting, and keep making your mark on the world.
We'll catch you on our next deep dive.